Since releasing the episode 8 Ways Not to Get Schooled on Your 403B Account, I became aware of another low-cost option that if you're looking to do it on your own, this could be a good fit for you. And this option is offered through Security Benefit, and it's offered in conjunction with the NEA, the National Educators Association. This product is called the NEA Direct Invest 403B account, and it can be a traditional 403B or a Roth 403B.
Are you ready for a successful retirement? We're addressing the topics facing today's retirees. Welcome to Retire with Ryan. Now here's your host, Ryan Morrissey.
Welcome back, everyone. This week, we're going to address a listener question. And before I do that, I just want to thank everyone for the continued listenership, because this week I reached a milestone of 10,000 downloads since the podcast was launched a little over a year ago. So thank you again for your continued listenership and subscribing to the podcast. And as a reminder, anyone can submit a listener question. And if you listen to the end of the episode, I'll tell you where and how you can submit your own listener questions to be considered for a future episode. This week's listener question comes from John, and he writes in the following. Hi, my wife, age 43, is about to begin her first year as a full-time teacher in Bloomfield, Connecticut school system. To this point, she had been a teacher's assistant at the preschool level for about 8 years, working a full day, but not being recognized as a primary teacher. In doing my own research about the Connecticut Teachers Retirement Plan, I came across your podcast addressing the purchasing of credits and how it is better to do so sooner rather than later. As stated, she has experience being the everyday classroom teacher's assistant. I thought this is where the credit purchase may come into play, although I will be honest and admit I am flying blind. Any thoughts on what she can do regarding this? So, if you're a teacher and you haven't listened to the episode 3 Things to Know About Purchasing Service Credit, I would suggest going back and doing so. And John, regarding your questions around that, I did read off the list of available ways that you could purchase credit for either teaching in other states or different jobs in Connecticut. As far as I can research and recognize, I don't see anything on there that says at a preschool level as a teacher's assistant would be eligible for purchasing credits for service. Now, there is something listed on there that shows that hourly teaching is eligible, but it doesn't really explain what the definition of hourly teaching is. I'm not sure if this falls under that. I did reach out to the Connecticut Teachers Retirement Board to try to contact someone, but unfortunately I received their voicemail, and I would suggest that you give them a call to find out whether or not this type of service is eligible. And if it is, then you can get an idea of what that cost might be and figure out if it's something worth purchasing. And John then goes on to write, also, there are other aspects of her retirement package, and what should we be focusing on? At this point, she is only making the mandatory Teachers Retirement Board contribution out of her pay. I now realize that there's a 403B available, but that was after the enrollment period ended, so we have to wait a year on that. I would say, John, regarding this, I also have an episode 8 Ways to Not Get Schooled on Your 403B Account. I would suggest going back and listening to that, as well as any other listener that is a teacher in Connecticut and is currently participating in a 403B account. So why that could be beneficial if you are actually eligible to purchase those years, there's a few ways that you can pay for them. And one way you can pay for them is by using money out of a 403B account. So the benefit that you would get using the 403B account is that you would be getting a tax deduction when the money goes in. It would be growing tax deferred. And then whatever the amount is that's necessary for you to buy back these years, whenever you decide to do it, you could then use money from that account. So that is one option. Because you have missed the open enrollment period that I guess the school system in Bloomfield has, your next best option would be to make a deductible traditional IRA contribution. And you're eligible to contribute up to $6,000 because your wife is under 50, and this is fully deductible to you, provided that you qualify. And you qualify based on your adjusted gross income being under a certain level. And because your wife is technically eligible for a 403B plan, even though she didn't sign up during the open enrollment, if you file jointly then your adjusted gross income would have to be under $105,000 for you to make that full $6,000 contribution. Or if you guys file married, filing separately, then your income would have to be under $10,000. So once you figure out your adjusted gross income for the year, then you'll know whether you're eligible, or if you have a good idea that you'll be underneath that, then you can go ahead and make that contribution. You have until the tax filing deadline of the following year, which would be April 15th, 2022, to make a 2021 IRA contribution. So you'll have some time after the year ends to figure that out. Now, regarding additional things that your wife should be focusing on, or you both should be focusing on, when the open enrollment period reopens for the 403B plan, you'll definitely want to revisit that and see if that is a good option for you. Now, I did address 403Bs in the episode titled 8 Ways Not to Get Schooled on Your 403B Account. And for those of you that listen to that, you'll understand that the K through 12 403B market is kind of like the Wild West of investing, in the sense that there is no ERISA requirement regarding those plans. So you have some very bad plans, bad in the sense that they're expensive plans, and most of those are offered by annuity providers, insurance companies. There are some plans that are more affordable. They have better investment options, lower costs, and those are going to be usually offered by your mutual fund companies, Fidelity, Vanguard, TD Ameritrade, and there are some others. So I took a look at the current list of participating 403B providers for the town of Bloomfield. This is available online. I'll put a link in the show notes to this list. And unfortunately, those low-cost providers that I mentioned are not on there. So I have to dig a little bit deeper, and I did a little more research on what's on here. Most of these companies are insurance companies, so you'll probably want to avoid those. There are a few on here that could be a good option for you, and that depends upon whether you're looking for advice or you're looking to do it on your own. Since releasing the episode 8 Ways Not to Get Schooled on Your 403B Account, I became aware of another low-cost option that if you're looking to do it on your own, this could be a good fit for you. And this option is offered through Security Benefit, and it's offered in conjunction with the NEA, the National Educators Association. This product is called the NEA Direct Invest 403B account, and it can be a traditional 403B or a Roth 403B. From what I understand, as I told some listeners before, my mom is a retired teacher. Almost every teacher is a member of the NEA. There's a few other organizations too that you might be a member of, the CEA as well in Connecticut. But because of that, you're eligible to use the plan through Security Benefit through the NEA. And the good news about that plan is that it has a good list of investment options. I'll put a link in the show notes to that plan. And there are a number of Vanguard funds on the list, as well as some other funds that also have some low cost. And you have different options anytime you're managing your own investments. If you're looking to kind of set it and forget it, you could use something called a target date fund. And this plan has a number of target date funds. And a target date fund has a year in the name. For example, this plan offers the T. Rowe Price Retirement Target Date Funds. So let's just say we're looking at the 2040 fund. That fund is designed for someone that will turn 65 in the year 2040. So if you're looking for an easy way to invest, not have to worry about it, this can be a good option for you because this fund is designed to be more aggressive the further away you are from that date. So we're in 2021. This fund would be more aggressively invested, more in stocks and real estate. And the closer you get to 2040, the more it shifts into bonds because now you're getting closer to retirement. You don't have as much time to recover should the stock market go down. So these funds are a nice way to kind of not have to make a decision, not have to put a lot of thought into what you're picking. The negative is that even though these funds are on the lower end of cost, they still cost about 0.75%, which is not extremely low as compared to some of the other options on here. There are other options that cost 0.5%, some of the Vanguard funds. So if you do a little research, you can build your own allocation, maybe using some of these Vanguard funds or some of the other funds, and maybe you could put something together for yourself that's very similar to a target date fund. It wouldn't be automatically adjusted. You'd have to go in and do the adjusting, but you could save about probably 0.5% in fees, maybe even a little bit more, which would all go to your bottom line. From the fact sheet, it does say there are some fees with this plan. I think it's $35 a year if your account balance is under $50,000. And then when it's over $50,000, there's no cost. And I think you have to set it up with at least $1,000. And then after that, you can put in a minimum of $25. So it does look like a really good plan as compared to these other options on here. So that is one option if you're looking to do it yourself. I had mentioned in an earlier episode that we also can work with security benefit. The cost would be higher for us to do it because we are involved in the management of the account. So that is an option as well. And a secondary option is that you also can reach out. There's another company on here called Hooker and Holcomb, and they also will manage the portfolio for you. Their fees are higher than the NEA Direct Invest 403B. That's the security benefit plan. But if you are looking for advice and you look for someone to do it for you, that is a good alternative. It's definitely going to be less than what it would be if you used one of the annuity-based products, but it will be more than if you did it on your own. So you have to determine if you're confident picking your own investments and managing them. You could save some money by using the NEA Direct Invest. If not, maybe consider the Hooker and Holcomb plan as an option. Now, as far as other things that you both should be thinking about, I'm assuming that you're of a similar age to your wife. Things to think about are how much you're saving for retirement. You mentioned that your wife's contributing the minimum, which is, I think, 8.25% into the Connecticut Teachers Retirement. If you can save a little bit more than that, if you could be putting another 2 or 3%, maybe even up to 15 or 20% away, that would be great to be putting this money either into an IRA or when the 403B plan opens up using one of those. You also want to think about life insurance. If you have children, this is especially important. I have an episode titled, Should You Keep Your Life Insurance in Retirement? And in that episode, I talk about the different types of life insurance. Most people that need life insurance are really only in need of that life insurance until they get to retirement. Because at that point, you've saved up assets. Now you're collecting a pension, you're collecting Social Security. And if one spouse were to pass away, usually there's enough left behind if you've saved enough that the other spouse would be okay. And if you're trying to just cover yourself for life insurance until retirement, a term insurance policy is going to be the best route to go. You should buy probably a 20 or 30-year term policy. And the benefit of that is it will be the lowest cost way you can buy life insurance. And if you buy what's called a level term policy, the premium will be the same for whatever the term is that you select. So for the 20 or 30 years, whatever it is per year or per month, that will be the premium. That won't go up at all. At the end of that, if you needed life insurance, the premium would go up significantly because now you've reached the point where the probability of death is higher, so the insurance company has to charge you more. If you think you're going to be in need of permanent life insurance, that could be something to buy also. But for many people, they probably don't need that, and it's going to be a lot more expensive. When you're shopping life insurance prices, it's best to deal with an independent agent, meaning an agent that represents multiple companies, not just one company. And if you're in need of an agent, I would suggest calling Bob Morsey. His phone number is 203-272-3278. He can help give you multiple quotes regarding term insurance and even permanent insurance if you're looking for that. So that's one thing to consider. If you don't have a will, everyone should have a will. Definitely look into getting a will, either doing it on your own through one of the low-cost options such as LegalZoom.com or meeting with an attorney to help you draft that. That's definitely an important thing to do. Additionally, everyone really needs to have some additional documents with that. One is called a healthcare power of attorney. Another is a financial power of attorney. And then the last is a HIPAA form. You should have that for your spouse, and your spouse should have the same thing for you. That way, if something happens, you can take care of their affairs. And if you're saving for education, that could be another goal that if you have children and you're trying to save for education, a 529 plan is usually the best way to go. And for Connecticut residents, using the CHET plan, which is now through Fidelity, is usually the best option because you can contribute up to $10,000 a year and take that as a tax deduction on your Connecticut state income tax, which ends up saving you about $500 to $700 a year, depending on your income tax. So those are definitely things to think about as far as what you should be focusing on in your financial plan now that your wife is a full-time teacher and she's a part of the Connecticut Teachers Retirement Board. And also realizing that for her to collect a normal retirement, which means she would receive 2% for every year that she teaches, she would need to have 20 years of service and retire after age 60. Well, based on her being 43 right now, she'd have to teach until she was 63, provided that she's not able to buy back any of those additional years that she has. If she was able to buy back those additional years or some of those years, and that would get her to 20 years by the age of 60, then she could retire at 60. On the Connecticut Teachers Retirement website is a chart that shows if you have less than 30 years of service and you retire 3 years away from normal retirement, instead of receiving 2% per year, you receive 1.64, which is a tremendous reduction that she definitely wouldn't want to forgo, because one of the main reasons that you benefit by being a teacher in Connecticut is through the Connecticut Teachers Pension System. So I appreciate your listener question, John. Hope this has been helpful. If anyone else has a listener question, please go to retirewithryan.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you will see the contact button. If you click on that, you can put then your name, your email address, and your question, and I will then put that in the queue to consider for future episodes. Usually this is at least a month or two out just due to the backlog of existing episodes that we already have, but I appreciate those listener questions. And as a reminder, if you don't have a plan for retirement or you'd like to learn more about retirement planning, you can attend one of my retirement readiness workshops. Those are still available. They're going on right now, and there's some additional classes that are starting at the end of October. You can either attend them in person or you can attend them over Google Meet online from the comfort of your home. And to do that, also go to retirewithryan.com, then click on Retirement Workshops, and you can sign up for there. Have a great week, and I look forward to talking to you next Wednesday. Take care.
You should consult a financial advisor familiar with your specific circumstances before you make any financial decisions. Nothing in this broadcast constitutes a solicitation for the sale or purchase of any securities. Any mention of rates of return are historical or hypothetical in nature and are not a guarantee of future returns. Ryan Morrissey, CFP, is an investment advisor representative of Morrissey Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor.